How's everyone doing today? How's everyone doing? It's gonna be an interesting one because for the longest time, I'm here alone. Forever alone. No guests, just me. Me and you guys. That's what's up. Let me quickly glance at my console, make sure everything is working fine, and then I can switch to start sharing the screen. The plan for today would be me just, kind of fucking around in the Manga studio, working on the image I've been working on for a while now. So, yeah, that's the plan. That's what I'm trying to do. Um, yeah, let's let's do this. Let's basically do this. I need to make sure, refresh. There's always that issue, you know. Let's basically do this. Well, there we go. All right, we're here officially. Officially here. Sign the birthday card. Yeah, it's my birthday. How about that? No, I'm not gonna brag about it though. Um, yeah, so I think everything is sort of similar to what I've been doing so far over last um, couple of weeks and whatnot. So nothing has changed. Um, Ash wanted to join the stream today actually, but something came out, something more important than him being in the stream. So uh, it is what it is. He really wanted to be. You can always message Ash and tell him like, hey man, I've heard you really wanted to be on a stream and you didn't go. What the hell? What the hell? Boom, there we go. I was wondering why the screen is not changing. My console is like way back there, so I have to like reach to it. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out a better setup right now. What can I do so I don't have to reach all the way out there? So I can just paint and don't be distracted. It's never ending sort of battle with me trying to do more and more stuff, um, and just not destroy everything on the way, basically. So um, I generally am, and you probably have noticed that, or maybe some of you've noticed that I'm really almost obsessed with the idea of constantly improving things, especially on live streams. You can see it that we're always trying to add something on the Twitch streams if possible, and if not, then Art Cafe is sort of my test bed for those things. So I like to experiment. I like to everything I try to do is always thinking about the quality of what you guys see. The reason I'm focusing on this so much, and then the only reason I'm really talking about it right now, and I know it's fucking boring as hell. And why are you talking about that? Why are you talking about your obsessions? The only reason I'm doing this is because um, I like to watch like a lot of different channels, YouTube channels, videos, and sort of see what communities and different people are doing, and one thing is always annoying to me is like, man, you could do this or you could change that, and the stream would be so much better. And then when I get to it myself and realize, holy damn, like there's so much things you have to consider in order to make the stream really better, then I just started to sort of have like a newfound appreciation for even the smallest things that you see when you watch those videos, right? When you go and I don't know how many of you would be even interested in like following YouTube channels. I'm pretty sure some of you have your favorite, artists over there or creators. Um, there's so much shit that comes to creating a channel and working with it and making sure everything works really well. And even just like setting up a camera like this one. Right now, I'm using my, I think it's a crop factor Sony mirrorless. Can't remember the brand, the exact number. It's probably 6300 or 6500. Can't remember. With the wide lens and setting that up, like you cannot you just cannot plug the camera to a computer and expect it to work. Like you need some other things, and unless you discover what exactly you need, you're gonna be in the blind. Like, why is it not working? So also shout out to Momo, because Momo is gonna be helping me out today with the questions, basically making sure I don't miss on any of them. That's great, so I can focus on mumbling and rumbling and not get too distracted. I'll still look at the chat though, because I wanna see what's going on. I wanna see what you guys are talking about. Yeah. So the first question actually, which is pretty interesting. Give me a second. I'm just gonna move my thing here so I don't have to like anytime I wanna read something. I don't have to fucking lean in. And in that matter, you're gonna actually see a little bit of the setup that I started to make. The cool thing about this is, guys, is like I can basically take everything and go somewhere. I could possibly go to Starbucks even and use the free Wi-Fi that they offer, and be like those writers and people that just don't have internet at home and just or pretend to be cool. I think most of them just kind of like, I'm so cool. I gotta sit at Starbucks and pretend I'm working. A lot of them actually do. It might be fun for them. But anyways, what I was saying is the cool part about the setup is that now I can take it to other places like Shaddy's apartment, for instance, like we did last time with the Art Cafe, or when we have a meeting with, like next time we will do a town hall meeting for the Learn Squared. I'll just bring my setup and I can just put it in the backpack and basically have the similar quality that you guys have seen so far with with setting it up in a couple of minutes. So it took like months of research. I know it's stupid because like I'll probably have better luck just asking you guys like, hey, what do you think I should do? And someone who's way more intelligent than me would come over and say, oh yeah, you just like, it's easy, just do this and this. And maybe that's something I should, that's something I will start doing, because I've noticed that it can be pain in the butt. But yeah, we constantly want to improve the streams. But anyways, someone asked if the desk that I have was custom. Did I build it my own? No, I haven't. I'm not good at doing those things. I'm probably, if I would try to build a desk myself, it would collapse, and probably break my legs or something. I don't know. It would probably look like shit too. I've invested quite a lot of money to get like a really cool, wooden desk, and I have it on raising legs. Basically, there's this company called Human Solutions. So for anyone who's interested in having like a standing desk, I would highly recommend those guys, because they do like really quality products. It's something that Ash has recommended to me before when he was building his standing desk. So I got like those legs that basically are automated, so I can press a button and it's gonna go all the way up. So I can make it either a sitting or a standing desk, which is cool, because like sometimes I rather stand, but today I'm just sitting because I'm tired as hell. through the work and whatnot, and I'll maybe stand a little later. I don't want to stand the whole day. That's you don't want to tax yourself too much, but it was a big investment, but it was worth it because this desk is like, I think it's like 8 or 9 feet long. I have like a lot of shit on it. Actually, too much shit on it. So, yeah. So I'm using my MacBook for running the stream. That's the only thing I'm doing here, and that's basically the setup. Because what it allows me to do is all the resources that go for. So that's one. I'm fucking scattered. One thing I've learned quite quickly is that when you're streaming, and pretty much anyone who've ever tried to stream ever, you know that streaming takes resources, especially if you're streaming HD or even if you want to stream a little higher quality. Bringing in a camera that puts output to your computer, that's also encoding, that puts a lot of it puts a lot of stress on the CPU. So streaming and camera and screen sharing, all of those things basically make it so that it's a lot of CPU resources that you don't have available if you work on the screen. So even though I have a pretty powerful PC here, it would still work a little slower. And my main issue with that is also it might not be as reliable for the stream itself as I would wish it to be. So that therefore I decided just to have streaming done on my laptop instead. Again, something I've been researching about and trying to really figure out like how I can step up the game and sort of start infecting everyone with it. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be surprised if Ash would start doing the same thing. He's actually using 2 computers too, so that's what I'm doing here. Yeah. But I'm working on a PC. Like, there's no way I would switch to Mac computers for work. They're just uh, unfortunately, as much as I like the Mac OS, you know, uh, Apple just decided to go fully consumer products, and there is no room for professionals there anymore. The only useful thing about MacBooks is their audio drivers, which is the Core Audio. It's called Core Audio, which is basically allowing you to do a lot of latency-free stuff on a computer for audio. So if you have like different devices, like let's say you have a mic, maybe few mics, soundboard, and which, by the way, soundboard's coming back soon. I promise you guys. Um, so the soundboard, Skype call, like whatever the hell you want to add there, you can rewire a lot of things inside one driver. Windows has like two drivers, and they sometimes conflict with each other, and it's just like one big mess. So it really takes time to make things set up, and it's not as bulletproof. So that's the only thing I really like about MacBooks these days, or Macs in general, or Mac OS. But their hardware, I mean, the hardware is really well designed to work with the software. The only problem is it's just like outdated. There's no way you can have four or even more, GTXs with the Mac, any of the Macs actually. You can make a Hackintosh if you want to run the Mac OS, but then you're limited to very, very specifically selected hardware. And there's just a lot of things that can go wrong along the way. So decision for me, because I used to be on iMacs for the longest time, decision for me was to abandon Macs basically for any art related stuff, especially me working in 3ds Max, and there's just no way, and it doesn't seem like it's going that way anyways, where you would have Mac computers to be competitive in the field of for artists specifically. iMacs are good, but I mean a lot of things going 3D these days, it's just like there's no way you can compete. So that's that. Now let's see, I'm gonna add more layers here. There's not enough layers, by the way. I'm just gonna show you the size of an image. It's only 20,000 by 16,000 pixels in 300 dpi, so it should be, I think it's big enough. I think it's a big enough image for print. I hope so. I really hope so. Anyways, well, there's more questions here. Do you wrap the tiger stripes patterns on your characters? Or how do I do it? How do I wrap those tiger stripes? Those are actually zebra stripes. I generally just take a texture, like a zebra texture, and then there's this one thing you can do. Let me actually show you, real quick. Where is the leg thing? It's right here. There we go. All right, let me do this real quick. So I'll just like duplicate this one part right here and just make it bigger for now. So you can do this in Photoshop with warping tools or even liquify, or you can just like in here in Manga Studio there is this thing called mesh transformation, which is basically the warping tool, and you just warp it around. Just, move those handles. It's super straightforward, really. It's not that hard to set up. It's like the easiest thing. You can make it even more round. It's just a matter of like playing with those handles, and like sometimes you might need to go and do this instead, like because like moving the handles when they are not vertical or not horizontal will result with like maybe not as perfectly rounded stuff. So what I would just do is make sure that my pattern is horizontal and then go and do this again. So you can go mesh transformation. Let me actually do this instead. There's something here going on that is preventing me, or it's adding like extra to the selection. There we go. So here I would just like, all right, so let's move those handles in the middle so it's even more rounded. And that's what I would do. It's very straightforward. It's like the easiest thing. And you can even move it more to the sides, to depending on like how rounded you wanted to have it. Super easy. Because normally the texture pattern would be like flat, and then obviously I would go in and overpaint where it's needed. So it's not a hard thing to do. Anyways, it's a big image. I've been working on this like forever. I'm gonna keep working on it. It's awesome. I want to make it super duper sick. I like this little pattern that comes in when you're using Manga Studio. You have that half tone shit that you can enable and disable really quickly. So I love it. I love it. I love it. Boo. There we go. What are the more questions here? So motion design. When are we going to see my motion design journey videos? I'll tell you one thing. A little behind the scenes. So I've completed my journey with Jorge. We just need to edit it, and we have a lot of other shit that is way more important. That is you guys will appreciate. And there's also like web development and whatnot. So, but it's coming. It's there. We just want to make sure that like we have to watch through those journey videos. We have to watch through the recordings and edit them together, because the way I record when I do a journeys myself is I don't do it in one sitting. And some of the videos that I have recorded are like hours long. Some of the lessons that I've done, especially the last two lessons, been like I think like total of 12 or maybe 20 hours of recording. I can't even remember, but I haven't done it in one sitting because it will be impossible basically for me. You have to do work and all the other shit. So we have to just edit it. We just have to put it together, make sure like there's no notifications on the screen, like anything that is distracting and not looking, good and professional. Like the last thing when you watch the video, the last thing you want to see or or hear is like unedited audio, like where I'm sitting maybe farting into the microphone and like what the hell is going on, or eating chips, like like any of that stuff we have to edit. I'm not an editor, so I don't know how long it takes, but it's definitely coming. It's gonna be soon. Don't you worry. It's gonna be up soon. So, and there is so much more going on, guys. I wish I could tell more, but whenever you see we're silent in terms of like there's not it feels like there's not much going on. There's just shitload of going on behind the scenes. We're constantly active with the school, and it's gonna be a powerful year. I can tell you that. It's gonna be really good. I'm super excited, but I just cannot say anything just yet. As always, just nothing to be shared on those streams. But you'll know soon enough. You will know soon enough. Yeah. Oh, by the way, next week, I think someone mentioned Curtis. I don't know if that's the same Curtis we're talking about, but next week, Curtis Chan is gonna join my live stream, and we're gonna do some Fusion 360 awesome sauceness. So, yeah. So that's what's in the books for next week. This pattern can be sometimes distracting, but I keep it anyways. Looks pretty cool. Um, Anyways, what you see me doing right now, it's like I'm just kind of scrolling around. I want to make sure that I'm adding all the details that I want to add here. I want to keep it as detailed as possible. I like to go in and really, really put some effort into getting all those details in. This is probably the biggest artwork I've ever been working on in terms of like the complexity of how many elements are going to be here. And by the way, I plan to continue making those Showtime drawings with you guys. So whether it's going to be through Twitch or through Art Cafe or both, we'll see how that goes. I believe Twitch stream is going to be one of the conduits for doing that, as I'm doing right now. So that's what's up. That is what's up. What was the next question here? I'm about to host my first workshop next month, showing of some game production at the local college. Pretty nervous about it. Any advice? Deep breaths. Being nervous is good. It means you care. It means that you are, you wanted to have it good. Everyone is nervous. I'm like, even when I'm starting this live stream, like before it, I'm fucking nervous. I don't know why. Just the sheer fact that you're gonna be interacting with other humans, even if it's just through the chat, I can be nervous. Like for someone, there's people that never get nervous. There's those people that climb like mountains and rocks without any harness or anything like that, and they're like not sweating or anything. I'm just like looking at this makes me nervous. But also any kind of preparation for anything makes me really nervous too. Even if it's just something as easy as, and it might sound easy, like, hey, just fire up a stream and show up and just, talk for an hour and then answer some questions and bounce. It is easy. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It's not the hardest thing in the world. All right, don't get me twisted. It's not the hardest thing in the world. It's pretty straightforward thing to do. You just show up. You talk for a little while. You like, even if you want, you can just basically ignore everything and everyone, which it would be pointless, because then why would you even want to join those streams? But just read some questions, answer, and it's all good. Like, you're not even face to face with people. But think about it this way: what is the worst thing that can happen for you during the presentation? Like maybe something's gonna go wrong and you're gonna make yourself not look that great. But unless you're like hungry, you have like no home, or maybe in your a country that is, war torn, I'll be nervous then. Like that's where you should be really nervous when shit is going really bad. But talking to people, and I don't know if you're getting paid for it or not, but possibly like even just getting some exposure or even just inspiring people to, become game designers or whatever, right? I mean, that's obviously you're gonna have some nervousness happening around it too. But like the worst thing is gonna happen is your presentation is not gonna go as good as you expected. But at least it's gonna be there. At least you're gonna show up and share your experiences. So I would look at it that way. Like what is the worst thing that can happen during that presentation? And I would just not try to not get upset. There's no reason to. Should be all good. I want to put it on the darken mode. That stuff here. Huh. All right. It's weird. Gotcha. I'm just talking to myself. Sorry, guys. I usually do that when I'm painting and something is like, I don't understand what's going on here. Like, what is the reason for? What are these shenanigans here? I want to know. Anyways, yeah. It's fine to be nervous. You're gonna be all right though. So as soon as you start talking and you feel well prepared, just make sure you're well prepared. Like make sure that you know your talking points. Make sure that your presentation file looks good. If you have a presentation file, if you're doing a demo, just go through the demo like a day before, or like just get prepared. Like spend some time. The more time you're gonna spend prior to presentation, just to be familiar with the topic that you're talking about, it's that alone will should be good enough. And if anything goes wrong, you still know what to talk about, so you can still improvise. So I wouldn't be too worried. The worst thing is like come in being absolutely not prepared and only relying on the file or software that you have and have nothing else to say. That's where I would be nervous too, because you kind of don't want to do that. You want to be prepared for the worst when that happens. And when you're prepared for the worst, then it's going to be super easy for you to handle everything when it goes live. And as soon as you start talking, you'll see that it's not that bad. The time is going to fly really quick and you'll be over the presentation sooner than you think. So go for a run. That gonna makes you happy too. Let's see what else. All right, there was a question, another one. Momo, thanks for gathering all of those. You are the sweetest. Thanks a lot, Maciej, for your effort. I find your streams so valuable. Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. Helped a ton. All right. A little question off topic, I guess. Could you please, see, my reading is horrible. Could you please tell me more about your experience with Modo? Great tutorials on replicators, by the way, and why you decided to switch back to Max. Modo has such an amazing selection of modeling tools. Was it because of stability issues? Do you consider to switch back? So one of the reasons I stopped using Modo was how big of the files I had to work with when I was working for some of the films. And I found it really troubling to me not to be able to handle like anything that had more than 2 or 3 million polygons. And that was years ago. I have no idea how Modo works these days. So it will be, maybe I'll switch back and see what's up. But I would consider it this way. Modo, as everything else, is just a tool. There's nothing else. There's no other reason to look at tools in a different way. Think about it, what kind of things you can do with that specific tool, and if it's working for your specific workflow. And then if you need to expand and learn something new, that's when you should try to switch and try something new. My advice in general, and especially here's a catch. An interesting catch here. The moment me, Ash, and Andrew decided to start Learn Squared, and the more courses we release and the more we teach, the more we take the classes as well, the more we realize how the whole thing works, and that the tools are just the tools, but it's also good to know more than just one thing. So if you're primarily working in Modo, I would say try different applications too, because I'll tell you why it's important. Because for instance, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate to it, especially those who have been using Softimage. Softimage was used to be one of the biggest and one of the best poly modeling tools out there for like modeling hard surfaces, for modeling in general. Softimage was, or maybe still is in some places, considered like the gold standard for modeling. You could use Max, you could use Cinema 4D, you could use Maya for doing the same things, and you would do the same things, but Softimage by far was exceeding the speed and how well it works and whatnot. Right now, Softimage was discontinued a couple of years ago, so there's no new versions coming out, and the other software is like Modo or 3ds Max or Cinema 4D. They're constantly adding new features that are making things easier. So in some cases, Softimage just becomes really outdated thing, and everyone has to move forward to something else. And again, like that's another reason that David actually mentioned here, David K. There's no support anymore for that software because it's discontinued. So there's not going to be any customer support going on there too. And you also have plugins. Like imagine using Softimage and your favorite renderer is V-Ray. Like it's not going to work. And the new V-Ray, by the way, the V-Ray now, like today, even like especially the beta version versus V-Ray 3 years ago, it's a fucking night and day. Like when I was starting to learn V-Ray, 3 years ago or 4 years ago, it was just like, holy shit, I have to be a mathematician to use that stuff. It was just insane. Like you would have to balance the materials, samples with the samples of the scene, and if you fuck up something with the mathematics, it would just be rendering forever. So everyone just kind of was rendering brute force, which takes forever, but it was like a noiseless render. And then optimizing a scene and having like those render passes that Grant Horwick was teaching in his class, where you have like this samples pass, and if the screen is blue, that's good, but it's also bad because it's like you're undersampling some areas. It's just like so convoluted. Today, you open V-Ray, you press render, and it works. It's optimized, and like I think there's a new version that is coming out too, which as you render optimizes itself for better settings specifically for your scene, which is insane. Like it's a plug and play right now, and it's not working and will never work with Softimage. So the point I'm making here is, if you lock yourself to one software, you'll find out that you might be in trouble when things are changing. And instead of looking at software itself, look at it in a way as is a tool, because modeling across the board is pretty much the same whichever software you choose. Like if you model in Maya, if you model in Max, like the principles behind creating things in whether it's poly modeling or subdivisions or whatever the hell you're gonna do with it, it's pretty much the same across the board. You're still sort of using the same philosophy for modeling, and it's the same thing with render engines. Like you might love to use Octane, but I would argue you should try V-Ray. I would argue you should try F-Storm, or I would argue you should try Corona, because although there are different software and some of the UI differences are in there, the general technique of how they produce images is the same. In most cases, it's just ray tracing, and the way the global illumination is calculated is the same. So there's differences in terms of like how you set up your materials and stuff like that, but a lot of stuff is the same. And what happens is that what if I don't know, something bad happens, like meteor crashes into, I don't know in which places those companies have their headquarters, but and whatever the hell, like they go bankrupt, they cease to exist, and now you're like, damn, I have to learn a new thing completely from scratch. And it's better to be prepared for something like this to happen. At least when you're sort of know how to use it, you already can switch. And the best thing is sometimes you'll find that one specific software is best for one thing, and you'll switch to the another one just to do this one other thing, right? So, like for instance, if I would want to have like if I would want to build like a little landscape, and but I didn't want to touch like World Machine or some displacement maps or anything like that, I would just jump into Cinema 4D real quick, open up the landscape node, play with the settings, and export it as OBJ. And I already have what I need. I don't need to use like learn new things and whatnot. I should probably, and that's why I started looking into World Machine as well. But yeah, it's just like it allows you to have more options into what you're doing, basically, So the more options you have, the better. That's simple as that. So, boo boo, boo doo boo. Let me paint for a little bit here. I'm gonna answer more questions in a second, but I want to put some line work into place right here. Doo doo doo. Anyways, thanks for showing up, for everyone who's joining this stream. By the way, I really appreciate it. We really do. Not only me, but everyone else. Pretty sure Ash and Andrew are stoked too. Hope you guys having a good day so far. That's what's up. Shit, I really need that soundboard or something, or have like more guests. When there's like more people talking, it's usually just like turning into much more interesting conversation too. So that's what I should start doing. I'm gonna put some bullet holes in those walls here, like a little crack here, emphasizing where the shadows are coming from too. So little cracks here. Doing a little bit of that, Otomo Katsuhiro action over here. Actually, I'm not gonna do this on this layer. This is a bad idea, because this is my layer that I use for the halftone. So when you zoom in, like anything that I paint, it's gonna have that halftone on it too. So I don't want to have that. Just add it separately. I love Otomo's work, by the way. If you cannot tell this already, then I'm telling you now. All right. Another question was, I have this so awkward problem. I feel ya. I totally feel ya. I don't know what the problem is just yet, but I feel ya. I've been learning for 2 years, and I don't feel I did much because I wasn't so committed. But now, I'm problem is I always feel I'm too old for kicking the industry, especially that Egypt doesn't have that kind of industry. So, what's your opinion? 24 years is too old? Dude, what the fuck? You're young as hell. don't listen to people that are telling you you're too old. You can be 40 and still start working in the industry. Um, I can't remember who I was talking with about that. I might have been talking with Ash or someone else. I can't remember. Maybe it was an Art Cafe episode. But it's the focused work that you do that will make you better. And right now, I don't know. It's a tricky situation for me because I don't really know how's Egypt right now. Like I just don't follow what's going on. Honestly, there's just too much going on in the world for me to follow everything. I know Egypt was in turmoil for the longest time. Whether it's for good or bad, I don't want to be going into that at all. But if you have access to Google and YouTube, this should be good enough for you to learn, and you can watch you can watch YouTube videos. Like let's say if you want to be a character, you want to do character art, you want to do concepts of costumes or anything like that. There's just so much you can learn from YouTube for free. There's this channel, for instance, I've been talking about it quite a lot too because I like it. I like how well organized it is. It's called Proco. It's a YouTube channel basically about anatomy and how to draw anatomy and stuff like that. There's a lot of free videos online, a lot of artists doing live streams that you can watch, and it's always you should think it this way. Like if you have humility in yourself to know that your work is not good enough, uh, that's a good thing because what's gonna happen is you will always try to get better. And think of it this way: like if you don't think you're good enough, that's not a problem. That's actually a good thing because now you know that you're not good. You're not trying to fool yourself that you're the best shit and like why nobody's giving me work when I'm the best shit. Like I used to say that a lot, and I'm gonna continue saying that. If you're not getting work, that means there are better people than you that are getting work. You know, so and it really I think it doesn't matter where you live either for work. Or it doesn't matter as much now as it used to. I know for a fact that there are places that sometimes the zip code or the country you're in will make it easier for you to land a job, especially like if you're in Los Angeles area. It's gonna be much easier because you can meet with a lot of employers in person, and they value just the possibility of doing that. The problem is also Los Angeles is freaking expensive too. So you kind of pay the price for like, should I be here and have more opportunities? But then like the life cost is just so expensive that I might be, it might be a little bit too much too. So, but anyways, if you could just continue, just continue working and think of like think of it this way: what can you do during the day that is going to be productive? Because like one thing you don't want to do is just like sit down and I'm just gonna sketch and sort of like see how it goes. Like don't do that. That's gonna be like it can be good thing like as a practice to do it once in a while where you just sketch things you like or just sort of like fool around, but put like a purpose into what you're doing. Look at your work, compare it to anything that is on ArtStation, especially compare it to like I would say compare it to the best artists. I know a lot of people say like don't do this because you're gonna get depressed or anything like that. If you have if you think about yourself in a way that you want to improve and not get upset that shit is looking bad. Shit is looking bad. That means you have to work on it. That's as simple as that. When I was starting back in 2003 and 2004, where there was no resources apart from Siege and forums, I would look at Craig Mullin's work. I would look at David Levy's work. I would look at Dylan Cole. I would look at Dussault. All of those amazing artists, and they were posting stuff from like Lord of the Rings and all the movies that were coming out. I was like, how on earth are those guys doing this work? Like it was just so impossible for me to know. but it built a curiosity in me, and I wanted to know how they're doing this. So I would follow their work, see what they say, look at the interviews they do. Maybe you're gonna stumble upon some of the tutorials. Maybe some of them do tutorials. Yeah, Dylan Cole has DVDs too, like on Nomon. You check them out. I mean, and see, like you have some of the artists that you like. Check what they do on Gumroad. The Gumroad videos are probably the easiest entry, and YouTube as well, where it's just like the level of commitment, financial commitment, is so low for what you get out of this. And obviously, I mean, obviously, sign up for Learn Squared, because why not? Why not? But what I'm saying is that it's good that you have that humility to say, my work is not good, not yet, at least, you know. And when you reach that point where you feel your work is good, then you might find out like it's good here, but I'm still lacking there. So if your anatomy is good, but your colors are horrible, or maybe your lighting is horrible, put an effort towards doing lighting studies or color studies. You know, look at the environment around you. Look at how lighting behaves. Study how light works and how it works in 3D, for instance, and just put time into research, and then that research translated to your to the practice. You know, I mean, good example would be just to look at even Scott Robertson's YouTube channel. He has done a lot of free videos where he's showing some of the practice methods. That would be a good way to do it too. There is just a lot of resources out there, and a lot of them are free. And if you have money, then signing up for Learn Squared, or signing up for I don't know, Schoolism, or even buying some of the Gnomon stuff, like all of those things will get you going, and you just have to put the effort towards getting better and better. You know, like not just fooling around like, oh, I've did a tutorial, blah blah blah. Like just try to take a lesson out of it. You know, like it's such a big ambiguous thing to say, but there's really nothing else that could be said. It's just a practice and really focused work that'll help you. So in a different, all right, there's another question. In a different Learn Squared course you made, you use a lot of sketching in between building assets in 3D. Is it something that you use often, or do you go more and more directly into 3D? So these days I do a lot of 3D, especially if it's a commercial work. It's gonna be filled with a lot of 3D. Ghost in the Shell is gonna be one project that when I release some of the images, as soon as the film is out, you will see that a lot of stuff that I've done for that film is purely 3D. There's just not even Photoshop in it anymore. But that's per project based. And I'll tell you that I also worked on a project recently that I haven't touched 3D at all, and I would only paint in it. And it just depends on who you're working with, and what are the client's expectations, and whatnot. One thing I would tell is it's a matter of practice, and it's a matter of proficiency inside of 3D software versus painting. If you're really proficient and you can do stuff really fast in 3D, I see no reason for using 2D for specific things. But if you're not as proficient and maybe you just need more practice, I would use 3D to start with, and then go from there. Like keep adding to it. You know, one thing I would do, for instance, when I was working on Jupiter Ascending. That's where I actually started investing time into 3D. It was because like there was some topics for me to work on that I just couldn't draw without looking cliche and stupid, or as pretty much anything I've done so far. So like trying to break the grounds in terms of maybe creating more complex environments or some visual effects. Like I was not able to do any of that inside of Photoshop, because it's just like it turned out to like mostly like photo bashing and manipulation experiments, which are good to maybe start with for something complicated, but sometimes you just cannot bypass the limitations of it. And that's when things like 3D comes in. So for me, the weapon of choice there was like replicators in Modo back then. Today, one of the things I really want to do very soon is I really want to take Michael Wrigley's class. I would really want to take the Adam Swab's class, get my hands dirty with more with Cinema 4D and Houdini. It's because like the procedural stuff and particles and After Effects, there's a lot of things, a lot of cool things you can do with it. Um, and not necessarily use it as your primary tool, but let's say you have a task that you're working on, like a sci-fi movie or something like that, or maybe sci-fi game, and your task is to create like different interesting ways to show explosions or some kind of energy, of beamers or whatever the hell you would do there, or even just like extreme close-ups of like technology, right? And when you have access to work with Houdini or work with some of the stuff inside of Cinema 4D and After Effects, you can create some really twisted, interesting results that will look like nothing you would be able to do in Photoshop. And some of them can be done really quickly. So the more proficient you get with those different tools, what happens is that you can start applying them to different things. Prime example would be Ash Thorpe, who's not here, sadly. Ash, before he started my character design course, I was I was almost screaming at him to start using 3D. Like, dude, learn 3D. Start using. I mean, he was using Cinema 4D a little bit, but he would never like consider DAZ 3D. What is this? When you go on DAZ 3D website, it's getting better now because like the quality of the assets are getting better. But back in the days when would go on DAZ 3D website, because like a lot of stuff is community driven, and it's a free and it's amazing software. Don't get me twisted. But you would look at it, it's just like you felt almost dirty, like looking at it. Like it's just like like it's just the quality of it. Yeah, you know what I mean. It's like when you go on ArtStation and see amazingly sculpted figures from video games, and then you go on the DeviantArt and just click a random page and you do some, and you look at maybe some kid is just trying out for the first time. That's like the contrast that you see when you oftentimes go and look at the DAS 3D, and it's just like it's so amazing because you can do so much amazing shit with it. So I converted basically Ash to like, dude, take my class, and he was screaming at me because how difficult it was for him, and I was like assuming well, you just kind of use the software, it's easy, which is something we learn with time. It's not as easy as it seems, but now he's creating short films with 3D, doing it himself with another guy, like completely from scratch using DAZ 3D, learning. Now he's learning ZBrush and using Fusion 360 for like hard surface stuff, and applying his knowledge of design. And when you look at Non, or when you look at his new film Epoch, it's a beautiful film because he's also a great designer. He has experience in directing short films, and now he can build them himself. He doesn't have to rely on others to build that stuff. It's almost becoming like a one-man VFX machine in that case. I really admire how Ash is doing it right now, and it's the openness to learning new things and the openness to progress. And it's always a balance between learning something new and already knowing something, right? So if you are good at drawing, keep doing that, but maybe in your next project add 10% of 3D, and that's going to give you some practice, right? And in between, practice modeling, practice getting around rendering and all that stuff. And then somewhere along the way, you'll find out that 10% of 3D is not going to be good enough for you anymore, because you already are proficient enough to start using some of the shaders and creating more realistic renders, and that's where you add more and more elements, and that's what happened to me. Like I would basically choose this exact path to learn 3D, and then right now, if I wanted to, I could create some of the scenes completely in 3D without even touching it with Photoshop, depending on how complex they are. But I would definitely be able to do that, and I would be able to do that as fast as it would take me to create the same thing in Photoshop. And sometimes I would be able to draft 3D scenes quicker than I would sketch in Photoshop too. But it's a matter of practice. I could tell you that Vitaly, who is a cyborg, I think he's a secretly Skynet. I'm pretty sure you can agree with me, guys, that Vitaly is building a Skynet. Uh, he can fully model and render and kitbash shit together quicker than any of us can sketch in Photoshop. He'll do thumbnails in 3D, and they're gonna be like fully rendered images. Like, what the fuck? I worked with Vitaly on some things. We worked together on some projects, and it was embarrassing to send 3D assets to the director, knowing what he was sending the other day. It's like, why am I even on this? Like, why don't you just add like an extra day to Vitaly's plate and just make him work for the entire art department? So, but he's been doing this for years, like 20, 30 years, or maybe 20, 30 years. I'm over exaggerating, but he's been doing it for the longest time. And you know how it is. The more practice you have, the better you get at it. So, yeah. So approach it that way. Like add things in increments. Don't get like, oh, I have to be the best modeler today. No, 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 no. You don't have to. Just add it in increments. Maybe photobash things together, maybe draw, maybe do whatever you want to do, and just keep adding to it. So, how do you develop taste to make cool art? I don't know. Just have to be a cool person, I guess. It's open-minded, like being open-minded. And again, it's almost like a theme. And this is one of the reasons we started Learn Squared as well, is just to learn from one another and show that you can learn things. It's the difference between me and you guys, and the difference between Ash and you guys is the mileage and the effort. It's just like we're just years ahead, but it doesn't mean that you cannot be there. And having the journey element in our journey and apprentice element in our courses just shows that, hey, like we suck at it too. We make mistakes. We learn from scratch, as everyone else does. So, but relating it to the developing your own taste, it comes with practice. It comes with time. It comes with you being interested with more things than just one thing. Like, if you just rely on finding references through Pinterest and that's it, or maybe only looking at ArtStation and nothing else, you're gonna do yourself a disservice, because you'll quickly find out that you will be only relying on the things that everyone else has created or painted by relying on someone else's work that might have been better. So you're putting yourself in a situation where you have a middleman between you and awesomeness, and that middleman might not necessarily be as awesome as the source that he was referring to himself. So, in short, don't look at concept art. Don't look at illustration. The only caveat, or the only thing that I would say, like looking at master painters or looking at film, is probably a better choice than looking at concepts. And the reason is because master painters, it took them a long time to figure out the things that they figured out and push the boundaries of art. And that's why they are called master painters, because they've done it. They were the best. So look at them. Look at nature. Look at fashion. Look at the surroundings. If you want to be great at understanding light, just even when you go to the grocery store or anything like that, just look at what's around you, like how the sun is behaving. Look at the corners of the buildings and areas where you're gonna have soft and hard shadows. It's just like observing nature will tell you so much more about the lighting than just trying to figure it out from heavily processed photos over internet. So just broaden your interests. The more interests you have in your life, the more knowledge you're going to have on specific things, and the more you will know what is actually good and what is kind of shitty. And you're going to build your taste with time. It's not something that it's a snap of a finger and you're done. It's never like that. It takes forever. It takes a lot of time to build your own sort of taste, your own style. But yeah, cinematography, films, some of the TV shows are great. Nature, like even like a macro photography can be really interesting. Reading, like, look at Matthias Verhasselt, for instance. He's obsessed about NASA. He's obsessed about like everything that NASA does or SpaceX and whatnot, and it shows because he has a very distinctive way of producing his artworks, especially like the kind of NASA-esque artworks. That they feel like concept art, but they're so good. They're like there's this sort of like the realism juiciness that you can see this could work, but it's still a concept. So it all comes from somewhere. Like there's always a source that inspires you to do something, and just let that source not be someone else's concept art, because you're just gonna trap yourself in this. You're gonna be the second best person in that row. Like that, the guy who created concepts is always probably gonna be better than you. If you just look at his work and try to be influenced, and you will be influenced if you look at that work, especially if you like it, you will definitely be influenced by it, and even subconsciously you will try to copy some of that stuff, which I've done myself too, and I'm not super happy about it. But you learn as you go. You make mistakes, and you're taking lessons from them and move on, and that's basically what it is. Ozva. I don't even know how to pronounce this, but thanks for sub. Shit, I really need to get that Twitch alerts because it was just so much easier to track for those guys who are resubbing or being subscribed for the longest time. I always want to give you guys a shout out because you're helping us to drive this thing and share everything with you guys. So will you be making prints for Showtime? Maybe. I'm not gonna tell just yet. Maciej, I just finished an in-house job 2 months ago, and I am. What is that? Oh, I am on Eat That Frog, 10 hours minimum day mode, learning, improving. I have like 4 or 5 A tasks, 2 hours a day. Do you think is better schedule these A tasks one per day to focus more, or keep going with 2 hour deadline? Honestly, do what you think works for you. It's good to have like those tasks, the most difficult things, and do them first, because like it's just that's what this book is about, and it usually works. It just makes the day easier as it goes by. But not one thing I'm learning. The more books I'm reading, is like one book will tell you do this, and you're gonna be awesome, and another book is gonna tell you no, do something completely opposite, and you're gonna be awesome. And it's like, well, what the hell? Like, which of you are right in this situation? And that's what the more books you read, the more informed you are, the more you realize that there are certain patterns and certain things that most of the authors and most of the people are gonna say are right, because they're proven to work. And then everything else kind of comes down to your personal preference. And there are some people that they will do 20 things at once, and that's the only way they can stay productive, by doing so many things at once, you know. And there are people that they cannot focus on more than one thing, and they'll go that route. And it's very subjective. It's based on, who you are. It's just so many layers to it. Your childhood may have a big impact on how you work and who you are, and whether a specific style of work gonna work for you specifically, or not. Uh, there are people that can focus only on one thing, and when they see there's more going on, they become stressed out, and they cannot focus on anything anymore. There are people that, if they only do one thing, they're so stressed out that there's not enough going on, that they need to start doing something else immediately. It just depends on who you are and what works for you. So you have to sort of like find this golden balance almost, that works specifically for you, and and just go that route, because everyone is different. Everyone works differently. One thing I would say, it's good to push yourself, but when you're feeling like it's getting way too difficult for way too long, like, it's all right if it's difficult for a bit. It might be difficult for a couple of weeks, but if it's like a grind, and you start to feel like you're losing interest because of it, and it's just becoming harder and harder, you have to find that moment where, all right, this is the moment I should probably stop, or this is the moment I should probably slow down. You don't want to get burned out. You don't want to do that, because at the end of the day, if you want to become an artist, or if you want to be doing art, whether it's for money or for fun, you still want to have fun with it. You still want, like, the most tragic thing to me, and every single one of us are victim of it, is doing the things that you hate, and doing it only for, I think, who was saying that? There was one person saying that doing the things that you hate for the money you don't need to buy things, for the money that you don't need to buy things that you don't like. Like, I don't kind of remember if it's the right quote, or if it's even the right direction or whatever. But the idea here is, like, you kind of want to balance your life, that at least you're doing something that is really helpful for you, and you really like doing it. If you're just grinding for the sake of grinding, like, I need to be the best artist, therefore I'm gonna work 24/7, and you're having no fun doing this, it's not for you. It's just, don't do that, because you're gonna basically burn yourself, and it's gonna be for nothing. You still have to enjoy what you're doing. That's one of the reasons why I'm saying quite often, like, when you're doing your own portfolio and you want to show the work in your portfolio, unless you're starving for work, where you just then post everything you can post and try to get a job, right? But the moment you satisfy your needs in terms of, like, all right, I'm doing work, I pay my bills, I have things to eat, that's the moment where you should start doing things that you like, and pay and paint things or model things that you like, because you like doing them. And the more you do it, the more you post that kind of work on your portfolio, the more of you're gonna have more clients that are interested in that specific thing. If you hate doing character work and you post character work on your portfolio, guess what? People hire you for what they see, and if they see you can do the character work they need, they'll hire you for character work, and you're gonna be like, fuck, I need to do this. I've done this myself. I've been like sort of like turning myself into one trick pony at the time, in some occasions, which it's good for landing some jobs, but it's also like not good at all, because like how many projects in the succession you want to do, where like literally a few weeks in you're like, fuck, I really don't want to do this anymore, So yeah, try doing the work that you like to do, and in terms of like whether it's 2 hours a day or an hour a day, just feel out what works for you, if it works for you, then just stay at it. If it doesn't work for you, then try something else and see what works. Cool. I'm gonna go through one more question. I'm sorry I cannot answer all of them, but uh gonna go through one more random question and then we'll wrap it up today, guys. It's my birthday. I'm gonna fuck around. And let's go through this one. Can you do? Oh, actually, let's do this instead. It's a good point. I want to do one other thing instead. Boo, 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 boo. Let me do this instead. So I haven't done this for a while now. But let me open a homework uploader and maybe look at some of the homework you guys been doing. It's gonna be time better spent. Some of the questions that you guys are asking, although I appreciate all of the questions, some of them I already answered before in previous streams too. So I just want to take my time here to give a shout out to students of mine, and I'll just randomly open maybe this one, and I'll open two homeworks for today. I just gonna look at it and talk whether I like it or not, and give you guys, or that's gonna be Stefan Stankovic in this situation, give you a quick feedback on that piece, or maybe next steps to work with. And then the next stream, when I'm with Curtis and maybe someone else was gonna join me too, I will actually put it up to the Photoshop and give you a little more proper, longer feedback. Just a few words on a few artworks before we wrap it up today. So, because I haven't done that in a while, and why not? I'm gonna start with, like, I like this homework. It's done pretty well. For anyone who's curious, like, what is this homework? What is going on here? So it's lesson 1, and in lesson 1, I put a lot of emphasis on breaking down architecture into blocks and simple elements, so that you can take that and, using perspective, draw it from different directions and whatnot. So you, sir, have done a good job here. I really like what you're doing here. It's it's a sketch. It's not maybe as super duper accurate, but it still works. It still follows the perspective rules. If anything, for anyone who's maybe trying this, it's always nice to kind of leave at least have on the low opacity your perspective lines, because that allows us to see whether it's following the rules or not. I mean, on the first glance, it looks like it's following the rules, which is good, but if you're not sure, just leave the lines, and whoever is going to give you a feedback, they'll be able to tell you if it's working or not. Looking at this piece right here, my only issue would be that when you look at the perspective lines, and perspective is probably good in here, I would maybe argue that those lines on the columns could have been done better. My only issue here is, it seems like I would balance the lines a little bit. So I would maybe add like a little extra space on the top, so that the angle that you see here, like let's say this line right here on the bottom, and the edge of the screen is creating like a little triangle. I would want to have enough lines on the top, and it seems like they are there, but there's also lines that are going directly into the image. I would want to have more lines on the top to balance the directionality of those lines here on the staircase, if you know what I mean. It's almost like trying to create a composition with it, where the amount of lines that are going diagonally upwards and right, would be similar or balanced with the amount of lines that are going diagonally right and downwards in a way. So that's the only thing I would do here. Those sketches look pretty good. I mean, the next step here would be just take those sketches and try to do something more complex with them. That's how you get better at it. And avoiding tangents. I talk about tangents in that class too, so that's something you will probably be more aware of as soon as you take that lesson. Like a big example of a tangent is like this is a little broken piece that is right here. It's so conveniently placed right where this column in the background is, so it almost seems like this column continues all the way down here, which is creating this weird illusion of something's wrong here. You know what I mean? So anyway, good work, dude. I'm gonna look at one more. Let's look at that one. Just a few words here. Let's see, basic light and values. There's some sketches here. Okay, got it. All right, dude. So let's. I'll look maybe at this piece. So one of the things when you're trying to create values for your image, and maybe for images like this, actually, you know what? Let's do it this way. Let's talk about it this way. So I'm just gonna look at the horse itself. There is a separation of the background and the foreground, which is good, so that I understand what's going on here. The problem is the directionality of light is very inconsistent. So I don't know where the light is coming from. It's for me very hard to tell. And the best way to solve that problem would be to look at references. So let me quickly pull up a reference, any reference. It's gonna take me a second. And of course, when I type what I want to see, I'm getting not photos, but this is gonna be a good one. Just looking at that, I mean, this is probably a bad example. This is a better example. This is a bad example, actually, because it's a very tricky light. I actually want to see a directional light. This is a good example. So when you look at this image, you can clearly tell where the lighting is coming from. So the light is coming from this direction here, and this side of the horseman is lit. And then based on how it's constructed, the sort of like three-dimensionality of it, you can tell that, you can tell the shapes by the shadows and lights, right? And you learn how to deconstruct that in the lesson too. Like the easiest way to make sure you're painting something like this properly, and if you want to be really good at understanding the form, would be to break down this form into simple shapes and then following all the things that I talk about in the lesson, and then with that in mind, then you add values and you really create the value structure for your image. And I feel it's lacking here. There is a silhouette. There's probably some proportion work that has to be fixed in that image. Like for instance, you added some brushwork here. It's one of the things I would make. I would want to be sure when you want to be sure when you're painting is that, let's say you want to add like a little smoke or something. Like, is that brushstroke really adding to the image, or it's more distracting? Is it really the quality you're after or not? Like it seems it's very sloppy. It's done too fast. So you would want to fix that. And again, for me, the biggest issue with this image is directionality of light, So you want to try to look at references, go through the sequence of lessons that are in this course, and really, because I know I think you picked up, maybe it's your own comic book or something like that you've done before, or a storyboard. Yeah. So pick up one of those scenes, then look at references and try to deconstruct the reference. Like, let's say you have this horseman right here, and you could look at a reference like this, deconstruct it, then change the camera angle, which is part of the homework of the previous lessons, and then start adding values. That will give you much better results than you trying to like, I just gonna sort of like, eyeball it, because this way you're gonna learn much more. You will be more aware of where the light is coming from, what's the directionality, what's the form. This is missing that because it's not following the right value structure. It's not following the right lighting structure. So there's a lot of things to work on here, but one of the things that you want to be sure is like, when you get a criticism, don't get discouraged. Take it as a lesson and try to improve. So that's always going to be my mantra. Like, always try to improve and always try to find what doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, make it better. Like, work and study in the proper way to make it better. So cool. So I'll wrap it up right here. We've went a little bit of overtime, which is fine. Let's wrap it up, guys. Thanks for everyone who showed up today. I promise I'll bring back my soundboard and Twitch alerts so I can give more proper shout outs and whatnot. And sorry if I missed your question. I'll try to answer them next time, or just be here and maybe I will not miss it next time. So anyways, guys, thanks for joining, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.